everyone, welcome aboard. Welcome back to lesson 2 of Actual English with me, Jennifer Clyde. It's once again and always a pleasure to have you joining me. Now, as I did mention earlier in lesson 1, that is if you did tune in, today we'll also be talking about introducing ourselves. So today's topic is self-introduction, but we're going to take you over to a much more casual setting. Not the workplace, but perhaps imagine you go to a party or a social gathering with people and friends, colleagues. But what if you walk into a party or a room full of people you don't know? What do? Well, when socializing, what you can do is try to say hello, greet people casually, and start a friendly conversation. Now, that is called mingling. And after you've said hello to perhaps people that you already know, look around. And if you see anybody standing alone that perhaps looks lonely and looks like they don't know anyone there, walk up to them and start a conversation as well with very simple and light topics. We'll be talking about much more today in today's lesson, so hope you're looking forward to a lot. Let's begin with today's actual talk.
Hey Rachel.
Hey Peter.
I was at a party the other day and it was so good. Like I stayed out really late. But there was this one guy who stuck out in my mind. He was really awkward and he was just standing in the corner. I felt really sorry for him.
Was it the first time that you've met him?
Yeah, I've never met him before and he really mumbled when he was introducing himself. I think he was really uncomfortable about meeting new people in a social setting.
Oh no. You know, if I were him, I think especially if you're not used to meeting new people in those kind of settings, I would always prepare some general questions beforehand.
Yeah, questions are easier than like saying something yourself.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
You know, things like the weather, that's always a general topic anybody can talk about.
Right? Everyone talks about the weather wherever you go.
Yeah.
I thought it was just the UK because it rains all the time. But in Korea it's the same.
In the States,
yeah?
Exactly.
It's the topic of the day. And maybe something to center around your hobbies as well.
Yeah.
Like if you're into sports, maybe ask some people who maybe look a bit sporty.
Yeah.
So did you see the game last night?
Do I look sporty?
You look very sporty.
Oh, well, I like to talk about sports,
yes.
so that's good.
That would be perfect.
Yeah,
then.
that's true. Yeah, because you want to find out some similarities between the person you're meeting for the first time so you can delve into deeper conversations.
Exactly.
And really get to know each other, right?
Yeah, but stay off some sensitive topics, I think, because then you can hit a really awkward moment, right?
Religion and politics?
Yes, absolutely. And don't go too deep until you're sure you've got common interests, right?
Don't
start
true.
waffling on about your interests when the other person just doesn't care. Yeah?
That's and you have to pick up on those cues to know when this person is disinterested.
Yes.
Yeah.
One sign is when he turns your back to you. That means they're not interested.
That's definitely true. That is a very frank way to show that they're not interested.
Yeah. Well, maybe when I see this guy next time, I'm going to tell him these great tips, Rachel.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone. Did you enjoy today's actual talk? Now, Peter and Rachel were talking about how to introduce oneself at a party or a social event, and perhaps also Peter gave us some advice, great advice as to what you should do and what you should not do at these gatherings. So let's take a look at what they talked about line by line. Of course, first of all, Peter talked a lot. Now, he did mention that he saw someone at a party, a really, really exciting and fun party, but somebody seemed to be standing alone in the corner, right? So he says, I was at a party the other day and it was so good. Good in this case meaning it was really, really fun, okay? It was exciting and fun. That's F-U-N. And he says, but there was this guy who stuck out in my mind. Now, to stick out means to what? It means to protrude, for example. But if you say that somebody stuck out, the past tense of stick out, it means that that person just really caught your attention. So the first word we have for you is to stick out. It means to be very easily noticed, okay? You catch somebody or catch something very easily because especially he, she, or it is very different from everything or everyone else. So this guy stuck out. stuck out in his mind. Okay, let's continue on. And he says he was really awkward. Awkward meaning very uncomfortable, and standing in the corner. So perhaps he was standing in the corner of a room by himself, looking very lonely. And Peter says, I felt really sorry for him. I felt bad for him. Now, he mumbled when he was introducing himself, okay? So let's take a look at the word mumble. Now, can you guess what mumble means? I'll give you an example. Let's check it out. Okay, so to mumble, the stress goes on the first syllable. For example, it's mumble, mumble. And I am going to mumble, so listen carefully. My name is Jennifer Clyde, and I live in Seoul, Korea. I work at EBS, and I've been living here for about 10 years. Now, that is mumbling. Now, if I want to speak clearly and loudly, I can say, hi, my name is Jennifer Clyde. I work at EBS, and so on. So now do you understand the definition of mumbling? So to mumble means to speak in a very low voice. It may sound like you're even covering your mouth. So it's when you speak in a low voice, almost with your mouth partially closed, okay? To speak in a very low voice. Oftentimes, when you're not confident, you may mumble. Okay, anyhow, so this guy that was standing in the corner was mumbling. He mumbled when he was introducing himself. And Peter says, I think he was really uncomfortable about meeting new people in a social setting. Now, a setting, what could it mean? A social setting basically means your surrounding environment. Environment equals setting, okay? So social setting means perhaps not at the workplace. It's not very polite or formal, but we're talking about a much more casual setting, meaning social setting, social surrounding environment. Okay, let's move on. Now, Rachel feels sorry for this guy, so she says, oh no, you know, if I were him, I would prepare some questions, such as general questions beforehand. As you all know, beforehand means, okay, in advance. But what does general questions mean? So let's take a look. Well, questions, basically, we all know questions. We ask questions, but a general question or general questions may be very common questions, usual questions that people may ask and answer. So those are general questions, okay? So basically, moving on, Rachel says things like the weather. Yes, the weather is, of course, a general topic as well, okay? That's always a general topic anybody can talk about. So now she's talking about a general topic, okay? So now you know a general topic and general question are things that people commonly talk about and ask questions about. Now, let's move on. Now, Peter says everybody talks about the weather. That's right, and that is why it is a general topic. Wherever you go, it's the topic of the day. Now, what does that mean? So here, let's take a look. Now, the topic of the day. We all know what a topic is. Subject of a conversation, topic of a conversation. But if you say topic of the day, it means that it is a topic that everybody is talking about. These days especially, okay? So if somebody is talking about a certain item, a certain band, a girl group, or whatever topic, and if everybody is talking about it, it is the topic of the day, all right? So he says it may be something to center around your hobbies as well. He gives an example, like if you're into sports, if you like sports, maybe ask people who look a bit sporty, who look like they might like sports. Questions such as, so did you see the game last night? So he's giving an example of the questions you could ask. Very casual and a very general question, right? Yeah, Rachel says that's true, right? Because you want to find out the similarities, the common things, okay? What people commonly are interested in. And then she moves on and she says, so you can delve into deeper conversations. Let's take a look at the word delve along with delve into. Now, delve is very similar to dive, okay? Delve into something. If you delve into something, you are going deep into it. So basically, if you say delve into, it means to, I guess, study something very carefully, look at something or examine something very carefully. But in this case, it means really get into something, okay? Perhaps you can delve into or have a deeper conversation. Now, Peter says, but stay off some sensitive topics. He's giving some advice. Stay off, okay? Sensitive topics. Why? Because then you can hit an awkward moment. Now, hit in this case does not really mean to punch or hit, but he's saying, well, you can put yourself in a very awkward moment. Let's take a look at what he said, though. He said, but stay off sensitive topics. Stay off. Let's take a look at what that means. I'm sure you've heard of stay away from something or stay away from somebody, which means keep a distance. Stay off means do not enter. For example, you can say, hey, stay off my property, for example. It means do not come onto my property. Do not enter this area. So he's basically saying stay off, meaning stay away from talking about sensitive things, sensitive topics. Okay? Now, and of course, Rachel gives an example. Sensitive topics that you should stay off are topics such as religion and politics. And he says, absolutely, certainly, that's right. And don't go too deep. Once again, it's very similar to delving into something. If you go deep or go too deep into something, you are going over the limit. Okay, you are going overboard. I think in Korea we often say 오버하지 마. Okay, so basically it's very similar. To go too deep means, that's right, to go over a certain limit. So he says, don't go too deep. Don't start waffling on about your interests when the other person just doesn't care. Now let's take a look at waffle about something. Okay. Now, waffle, we're not talking about the very sweet and delicious snack. Waffle about something means to, in some cases, be indecisive, have a hard time deciding what to do. But in this case, it means to babble on. Go on and on and on and by talking and talking and talking. So babbling, waffling about something, chatting about something, constantly talking about something means to waffle about something. So he says, yeah, don't start waffling on about your interests, what you're interested in, when the other person is not interested. They don't care. Rachel says, and you have to pick up on those cues, meaning hints, okay? Cues, meaning hints. So be very fast in catching those hints to know when the person is disinterested. Very easy word, disinterested. Dis itself means not, so disinterested means not interested. All right, moving on. Now Peter says yes, and one sign, okay, one sign meaning a sign that the other person is disinterested or not interested is when he or she turns his back to you, okay? Turn one's back to you basically means, yeah, physically turning your back to someone. Why? Because you're not interested, right? And then Rachel says, that's definitely true. That is a very frank way to show that you are not interested. So, Frank, what does that mean? Of course, Frank is a name. It's a male name. I have a male friend, and his name is Frank too. But in this case, Frank has a very different meaning. To be frank means to be very honest, to be very direct, for example, and straightforward. So she's saying it is a very honest way, a very direct way, a very straightforward way to say or show you're not interested. Well, Peter says, well, maybe when I see this guy, now this guy meaning the guy that was standing in the corner alone, right? He says, I'm going to tell him these great tips, Rachel. And about it, that brings us to an end to the conversation. Now, what we're going to do, as you all may know, we're going to listen to the conversation one more time along with the subtitles. So here it is.